Welcome to Recap King. In this video, we will explain a Japanese movie inspired by an anime series, Ajin, Demi-Human. This movie tells the story of a student named Nagai, who discovers he is an Ajin, an immortal hunted by the government. Can he live freely in this world? Let's find out in Ajin, Demi-Human. Ajin, Demi-Human tells the story of a young man named Nagai who realizes that he is an Ajin after having a traffic accident. Nagai was able to get up and was completely unharmed after being hit by a truck. After the incident, his identity as Ajin was revealed. He was then immediately secured by the Japanese government to be used as an object of research related to the development of the human revolution in the future. The research was led by a man named Tasaki. The Japanese government has conducted a series of research to examine all things related to Ajin. Ajin is a human who cannot be killed and have extraordinary self-healing abilities. In the research, Nagai had to experience torture and was killed many times in various ways, but he was still alive. In no time, his wounds were completely healed. Nagai is the third Ajin to become the government's research object. One day, two men named Sato and Tanaka broke into the research center to save Nagai. The two of them were Ajin. Tasaki, who already knew about this, immediately increased the security of the research building and mobilized all guards to fight them. However, the guards were no match for Sato, who was also good at fighting and shooting. He couldn't be killed either. The only way to immobilize the Ajin is to anesthetize them. That's why when a guard fired a stun bullet into Sato's hand, but he chose to cut it off. He didn't even hesitate to shoot himself when his body was filled with stun bullets. This was deliberately done so that the cells in his body could quickly regenerate and bounce back in prime condition. Sato finally managed to save Nagai and ordered him to kill the scientists who had killed him thousands of times. But Nagai was reluctant to do so because he was not Sato, who enjoyed killed many people. Nagai then shot Sato and fled from there with the surviving scientists. Actually, Nagai wanted to kill the people who had acted cruelly to him, but he chose to live a peaceful life without grudges. Sato, who had risen again, immediately chased after Nagai and attacked him repeatedly. Sato finally managed to corner him. When they were facing each other, Sato took out a black creature from inside his body. This creature is often called Ghost, and all Ajin have it. This is the first time Nagai saw his ghost. Long story short, Sato and Nagai's ghosts are fighting each other. Seeing his ghost start to be cornered by Sato's ghost, Nagai summoned his ghost to attack Sato. After Sato was dropped, he rushed to escape from there by jumping out of the building. After slaughtering the guards, Sato and Tanaka came out of the research building and exposed all the cruel actions of the Japanese government against the Ajin in front of many journalists. Sato urged the Japanese government to give special territories to the Ajin to live properly like other humans. Elsewhere, Nagai, who managed to escape from the pursuit of Sato, then met a kind grandmother. The grandmother allowed him to stay at her house. Nagai was very happy because he needed a hiding place after running away from people who only wanted to take advantage of him. A few days later, Sato threatened the Japanese government to respond to his previous request. He even threatened to attack all the ministerial buildings near the Ajin Research Center if they did not grant his request. Of course, it wasn't a mere bluff because he did hold a bitter grudge against the Japanese government. Sato is the first Ajin to be the object of research by the Japanese government. He was the object of research for 20 years, and during that time, he had to endure such endless torment that he wished he could die. Sato wants to avenge all the cruel treatment he experienced while being the experiment object. Meanwhile, Tanaka was the second experiment object by the government. Even when Sato and Tanaka had managed to escape from the research center, they hadn't gotten the freedom they wanted because the Japanese government continued to hunt them down. Sato then invites another Ajins to unite a fight so they can live a decent life. In his hiding place, Nagai continues to practice controlling and mastering his ghost abilities to become stronger. Not only that, he also keeps an eye on the current situation and learns about the threats that Sato poses from the internet. Nagai then visits his younger sister, Eriko, who is undergoing treatment at the hospital. Nagai wanted to protect her from a dangerous situation that might happen shortly by taking her as far away as possible. The day of the attack arrived. Tanaka brought complete equipment and took up a position on the roof of a building without anyone noticing. Meanwhile, police and riot squads stood guard outside the ministry building to keep the situation under control. There were also many journalists from various television stations who would broadcast the attack live. Sato attacked the ministry building by flying a plane and crashing it directly. The situation became chaotic, and people ran for their lives. Of course, Sato bounced back. In the chaos, Tanaka flies the drone carrying Sato's equipment for his next attack. The anti-riot troops acted quickly to ambush Sato and strafe his body with bullets. Sato was successfully paralyzed before he could launch a fight. When the police secured him, that's when Tanaka began to carry out his duties. Tanaka is a sniper. Alone, he managed to kill the policemen who surrounded Sato with precise shots from the top of the building. Shortly after, Sato got back up and massacred the entire cop by himself. At his hideout, Nagai witnessed Sato's brutality on a live broadcast. After that, Sato did a live stream from the scene of his massacre with an innocent face. He reiterated his threat to the Japanese government. Even this time, he asked the Japanese government to hand over Tokyo as a special territory for the Ajin. If the Japanese government ignores his wishes, he will steal the state's poison gas and use it to exterminate all of Tokyo's citizens. Suddenly, Sato's threat caused a commotion throughout the city. Tokyo residents panicked and flocked to leave the city to save themselves. Tasaki and the Japanese government immediately entered into negotiations with Sato. The government offered an uninhabited island in the Kato and Kyushu regions as a special area for the Ajin. But Sato flatly refused because he only wanted Tokyo. He then hung up the phone, and negotiations failed. Not long after, Nagai decided to meet Tasaki. They then negotiated secretly in one place. Nagai wants to ally with Tasaki to stop Sato and his minions. Of course, Nagai's offer was welcomed by him because it would benefit the Japanese government. But before the two of them agreed, Nagai made two conditions to Tasaki. First, he wanted his sister to be taken to the safest place. Second, he wants to get new social status and identity after finishing everything. Tasaki didn't seem to mind Nagai's terms and agreed. An agreement was reached. Just in case, Nagai had prepared a threat to Tasaki if he broke his promise. He vowed to kill Tasaki's fiancée if he dared betray him. Tasaki and Nagai immediately set up a plan to protect the poison gas and stop Sato. During a meeting, Tasaki reveals an anti-Ajin army that can be deployed against Sato and his minions. But Tasaki did not have the authority to command the troops because they had to get approval from the Japanese government. As Tasaki and his team set a trap for Sato, Tanaka and his men enter the building and attack the guards. However, Sato was nowhere to be seen with them. It didn't take long for Tanaka and the Ajin to finish off all the guards. They then rushed to a room where the poison gas was located. But unbeknownst to Tanaka, the room was a trap room that Nagai and Tasaki had prepared. After Tanaka and the Ajin were in the room, Nagai sent his ghost through the air duct. His ghost will make it difficult for Tanaka and the Ajin to see their surroundings and making it easier for the guards to sedate them, because only Ajin can see Ajin's ghost. The guards find it easier to incapacitate Tanaka and the other Ajin. Elsewhere, Sato wants to kill himself using a wood crusher. If an Ajin destroys his body to pieces, the Ajin will regenerate to be stronger than before. But with a note, they have to cut off a few parts of their body before destroying themselves. It turned out that Sato's hand was in the bag that Tanaka was carrying. So when Sato regenerates after self-destructing, he will move to where his slashed hand is currently located. The resurrected Sato finally appeared in the trap room and attacked the guards. In an instant, the room became the site of the unknown Sato massacre. Sato then saves Tanaka, and they rush towards the poison gas storage room. Nagai, who immediately ran towards the trap room after hearing Sato's appearance, could only gape at the sight of all the guards who had died. Sato, who already had the poison gas in his hand, immediately contacted Nagai and challenged him to come to the helipad where he would detonate the poison gas. Without thinking, Nagai accepted Sato's challenge and rushed towards the helipad. There, Nagai fought to the death against Sato and had to snatch the poison gas from him with extreme care so it wouldn't explode and annihilate everyone. Elsewhere, Tasaki has to face off with Tanaka, who has ambitions to kill him after all his atrocities. But Tasaki is always protected by his bodyguard, Izumi, who turns out to be an Ajin like Tanaka. Even though Izumi has been trained as a bodyguard, Tanaka is an opponent that cannot be underestimated. Izumi finally managed to distract Tanaka and make it easier for Tasaki to drug him. Tanaka was successfully disabled. Meanwhile, Nagai manages to seize the poison gas on the helipad and hides it in a safe place. But the fierce battle between him and Sato seemed never-ending as they continued to recover and regenerate rapidly. Finally, Nagai outwits Sato, and his ghost manages to stick a stun bullet into his body. But at the same time, Sato managed to cut off Nagai's hand. Nagai thought it was over, but Sato got up quickly and was about to shoot him in the head. But then, something very unexpected happened. The anti-Ajin army ambushed them from all directions and instantly froze Sato and Nagai. After that, their frozen bodies were pinned down to pieces and annihilated. There was no more dust left, so that the two of them couldn't get back up and perished forever. Izumi, who saw the incident, then asked Tasaki how he could get permission to deploy the anti-Ajin troops. Tasaki replied that the Japanese government gave him permission on the condition that Nagai must also be destroyed. Tasaki is forced to break his promise to Nagai as this is the only way to stop Sato. But it turns out that Nagai's history is not over because he still has the pieces of his hand lying on the floor. Nagai got up again and immediately left the place. The film ends. Having the power and ability to exceed other people, in general, does not mean the right to oppress the weaker and act as they please.